I'm Ashton Addison from Blockwest Capital for Investment Pitch Media, and today on the Crypto Coin Show we have back with us Michael Luckhoo, the co-founder of Cirrus Foundation. Michael, welcome back to the show, and it's a pleasure to see you again.
Yeah, pleasure to be here, Ashton. It's been quite some time since we spoke, and it's great to be back.
Definitely, and a lot has happened in the crypto industry, and it's evolving in a way that I think is favorable for what Cirrus Foundation is working on. I think right now it's more important than ever for people to take care of their personal information, to realize what information they're giving out online, and also to be able to own their information and the content that they create, and find other ways to generate revenue and stop becoming the product themselves. And I feel like the whole industry is sort of moving in that direction. I would love to get an update on what Cirrus Foundation has been working on since we last spoke. But for the viewers who haven't seen our first interview, let's just start from the top in what Cirrus is all about and the initiatives that you're driving into Web3, and then we'll go into all the latest details.
Yeah, certainly. It's a challenging time, obviously, in the industry where you look at everything that's kind of folded the past few weeks, especially of last week, and you kind of take a step back and really understand why are we here? Why are we here in this blockchain world, the crypto world? And we talk about power to people and financial inclusion and ownership, and the reality is we've fallen short drastically in this industry to even do that. We've talked about how people become participants in the ecosystem and network effect and decentralization, and again, we fall short. And it's alarming. It's really challenging for so much people who have faith in bringing emerging technology to the betterment of people, and to see bad actors come into place on the same premise of centralization, on the fact that you have this gatekeeper approach with a lot of these products that are out there, and really stripping people from their value. And this is exactly what just happened. And to shed light on it, this is something that we've seen in many industries, even just outside of crypto. We've seen this in the traditional markets, stock markets, for decades. It's happened. We've seen this in the Web2 worlds, as we call it, and people have been taking advantage of, in a sense, because they've got a free product, but they've been billed to the tune of trillions of dollars and monetization. And now we're seeing the same mentality in the crypto industry, where there's this gatekeeper approach and saying, okay, well, let's leverage people's assets, and not just their data, but leveraging their assets and trying to make more interest off of that. And that's crazy. And and the world really needs to strip away this idea of what we talk about, so many times, decentralization, better to the people, and actually just do it, just get it done. It's like at times it's enough to just keep talking. And we've seen some really great improvements this year. Ethereum 2, shifting the proof of stake and really kind of becoming more de facto in the network effect. We've started seeing, Uniswap, a rise in decentralization in swaps, over $1 billion in the past week. So there's a resurgence in decentralization. We've seen some more countries really embrace treasury control in Bitcoin, which is a sound currency that's been the past decade. At Cirrus, we've traveled across overseas to emerging markets in India and also in Nigeria and Africa to really understand better how we're impacting people and how we're bringing technology for people. And outside of government control, outside of centralization, outside of not having access to the bank, and really building that. And we did a really amazing conference in August, which was a kickoff for that. And we sponsored it. We were there. We were actually doing educational workshops on how Web3 plays a role in the idea of financial inclusion, and why owning your assets and owning your data is so important. And it was a wild success. So I think the world needs more of that. We need more education, but we need to lean into more product development that powers that. And that's the only way we're going to get away from bad actors and such what happened. So Web3 is own your data, own your assets, very simply put. And that's exactly what we need to do here in Cirrus, in the world of Cirrus. And I hope more people wake up to that notion and don't just get caught into the whirlspin that people are putting out there in the centralized land still, and taking advantage of people. And that's across the board. And I love the fact that now there's a shakedown in the industry. It's going to grow greater efficiencies. We're seeing a shakedown in traditional tech, with Twitter going under reform and trying to create more transparency for users, trying to create more ownership for people. We're seeing Meta, and there's some things that are happening on that side. So it's across the board, and I don't even just think it's just our industry specifically as a silo. I think it's across the board that we're now starting to see how misused people are in these products, and they're not participants. And so we got to change that game. So I think that's it. I drag on here because it's so important for us to really recognize that message and actually lean into it and really create these products. Yeah.
Great intro and great points, Michael. And you're completely right about Web 2 and people sort of taking advantage, these companies taking advantage of people's personal information or their assets and to better themselves. And even in Web 3, as we've seen, people are trading cryptocurrencies, but a lot of these technologies that are in Web 3 are really using Web 2 technologies. They're not really fully decentralized or using the proper Web 3 technology, and they're using the parts of the Web 2 that have holes in them and vulnerabilities, and that's what we're seeing with centralized cryptocurrency exchanges and search engines and marketing, that people are still falling victim and becoming the products and losing out. So I really like what you said there about sort of fully embodying the Web3 principles in Web3, and I would love to dive deeper into how exactly Cirrus is looking at the Web3 approach in ensuring that people are able to own their own everything.
Yeah, it's a dual approach. We say Web3 because we think in principle Web3 is owning your data and owning your assets. And what does that really mean? So the idea is that everything you do online, you're in a digital world, whether you like it or not. You have a digital proxy of yourself. All of these accounts that you create, all of the platforms that you join, they're gaining so much insight from you and making a ton of monetization, and you're getting really zero from that. We're starting to see creators, I call this a creator economy, is that they're pushing back and they're getting ad revenue spent, they're getting equitable shares. And so we kind of advanced that a step further from a shared economy to the ownership economy, whereby everybody is a participant. That means even if you're a consumer on that platform, whether it's Facebook or Twitter, you're also getting paid. So it's not just the creators, it's not just the big tech platforms, it's also the participants, which is you and I, and or me for a later degree, I guess, in consuming the products. And so that's number one. That's a fundamental in Web3. Number two is really the assets that you develop and you get as monetization. You're able to choose how you want to store it, how you want to involve that into later financial products, and how you want to send that across the world and really be a part of financial inclusion. And so what we're doing at Cirrus is targeting both of those points. We've developed a Web3 wallet that's supporting monetization to people, basically just being on the internet and restoring faith that, yeah, that's your data and you are able to actually control it and choose how you want to be paid for it. And then at the same time, it's a dual factor wallet. So that means people are able to choose what they want to do next. And that's the X factor, because we can now get people into the mindset of how they can involve their earnings into more future products, into financing, to really create a higher level of interest for themselves. And why is that so important as well right now? Look at what happened in the world in the past year with, again, centralization approach, massive inflation across the world. The alarming stat that we know is that in the US, for a household to come up with $550 from an emergency fund, it's only around 47 to 50% of the actual population base that's actually able to do that, pull that off at this current state. So we know the surge in commodity prices, surge in the markets of inflation is putting a damper in people, and we need to kind of at least give people back the tools and say, hey, you know what, I want to get involved in passive interest earnings. I want to now enroll myself into finance. And so at Cirrus, I think it's a dual factor. We want to make sure that we can restore faith in the principles of data, get you paid, and involve you into the world of financial inclusion. And that's what we built. I got some screenshots up here, obviously, in the background. We've gone through a ton of iterations, and I can speak on that. But yeah, that's the principle.
Exciting to see, Michael, and it's crazy facts about, that obviously the inflation is bad, but, to have half of the country not able to build an emergency fund, I think it's more important than ever that now is the time that people look at, the ways in which people are making money off of them and flip that switch so that they're able to monetize off themselves. And, it's easy to say, for example, well, people start YouTube channels and all of a sudden they start making money, but it's a whole nother step to take the action and actually start earning. And I'd love to dive into that a little bit more with Cirrus. There's different ways that you can monetize your personal information or your content and the creator economy, as you mentioned. What are some of those specific ways? Is it, for example, turning on advertisements that, in the Web3 world, it seems like if you were able to accept certain ads, you actually get paid for them? Or is it actually creating content and on certain platforms that allow you to monetize and get paid for that? Or what are the other ways that Cirrus is looking to help with this creator economy?
That's a great point, Ashton. And the kind of simple answer is that you really do nothing. And because you're just online, yeah. You are part of the data. You're already part of the data economy, whether you like it or not. You're already there. And we've worked towards this sort of like area where we are in the world of the internet right now. Everything is value. Everything through ad revenue, through the creation of these things is value, and people are just simply not getting paid. So we don't want to change people's behavior. We just want them to be a part of that equation. So what we're doing is we're not asking people to do anything different than what they're already doing. Go on these websites. You want to be part of that? Great. At least have some type of value creation from it. And so that's our approach. How we create further value and more, like you said, more direct engagement with brands, zero-party data, and things like that. That's something that we'll develop upon, and which the user can choose to opt into and choose how they want to engage with. But the quite simple answer is just do what you've already been doing and get paid. And there's enough value right now in the internet that we know this is a well of monetization value that people just haven't been able to receive. And to that point that you talked about in the fact that right now every dollar counts, every dollar really does count, and it's kind of surprising to where we are right now in the economy that people are put in this position. So we want to really be a factor in the solution.
Awesome. Well, that sounds amazing. If I could just do what I normally do, but realizing the power gets put into my hands, that's something that sounds great to me. So I would love to start that, Michael. And so how exactly, obviously things are a work in progress, and it's a huge shift to move into, the full Web3 and utilize all the functionalities of it. But how exactly does Cirrus fit into that with people doing the same thing? Is it through software, through hardware, or a mixture?
Yeah, we are now focused, almost purely on a software approach. We started the company early with a big data company that we have really bolted behind the scenes, and we had a hardware approach where we were going to deploy routers into people's homes, and that collects all this granular type of data across everything you do. And where we are right now, because we want to go global and we want to make sure this is in the hands of many, we're a software first approach. It's going to be a web extension. So it's a web wallet that's just like your MetaMask or just like the other web wallets you might have, but except you get paid. So it's the wallet that pays you. Simply download and install it on Google Chrome, Safari, and so forth, and go along your business. We hope, and our intent is that this would be the wallet of choice for people, because they can really park everything within Cirrus once they see that the value is coming in, and they can see that they're earning a greater upside from a wallet that's actually valuing them across the internet, and they can choose to integrate with more of our products. And I think the biggest thing that we've worked on this year is really ensuring that when somebody comes into our ecosystem, that it's highly engaging, and it's highly engaging with the fact that they could choose to do more things. So it's great. I got value from my data. I'm earning. Awesome. Like, what do I do next? And we can really, really build them into the world of what Web3 powered finance. And that's a whole different ballgame. And people haven't even been able to even access that in the first place, because it's been, jumping through hoops to even start a wallet and to start an account on an exchange. And you don't even know if that exchange is now even holding your value or not. So it's even more so that we have to build these rich products inside the wallet. And let people just explore and be more comfortable in getting involved into crypto without having to put their dollars forward, without having to take out a debit card or credit card and risking that. It's like, hey, just earn income from the internet and choose how you want to invest in that, and you learn a little bit more about what Web3 and DeFi really offers.
Sounds incredible. And obviously the wallet is a major catalyst to getting into this, but it's also a barrier to entry. As we've seen, there's a lot of different wallets, and some of them are very technical and they can be meant for crypto natives, and something like this I feel like it needs to be approachable to the masses. How has your team approached building a wallet that has that usability, that everybody can get started without having to know about finance?
That's a really good point. We've really put our heads to the table to try and figure that out. We're crunching all the ideas here, and in one case, you could say the idea own your keys, own your assets, right? And that's a fundamental of Web3, absolutely. We also recognize the fact that people who are coming off the street and really getting involved, that's a scary, that's a daunting thing for people to do at the same time, because they might lose their private keys and so forth. So our initial version is going to be a custody solution. However, that's not custody that we're building. We're building on Fireblocks, and we're making sure that that's bulletproof. It's multi-party computation. There's multi-signature sign-offs. Like, everything is stored there. So we're ensuring that people can come in with the highest level of security. We are going to look at how we integrate decentralized wallet capabilities into our product as well. So they can use that however they wish, and they're ensuring they have obviously the assets themselves. And that's something that we're taking extremely careful here. The biggest aspect on how people just get involved is doing something that is easy to understand, that doesn't change learned behavior. Like signing up just for a regular account. And we want to make sure that as seamless as possible. We don't want to scare people away. People have had to jump through enough hoops, and there's a lot of fear to some degree in the industry right now. So we want to ensure that. The biggest thing for us is legitimacy. The products we're building are real. We're working with the best in the league to ensure safety and sovereignty to your assets. On top of that, we're coming out with what will demonstrate is called a full layer solution for Web3 and for Cirrus. And what that means is that we create full sovereignty to people's assets and their data. And that means we're not just using AWS and these Google Cloud storages. We're working with sovereign solutions in data storing across the world that ensures that people and their information is stored to the degree that they can choose how they access it and where they want to move it next. And it's not simple for a centralized authority to just come and say, hey, we don't like this app, or we don't like this information, we're just going to deplatform you. That doesn't exist in our world in the future, where we want that even remotely as a possibility. So that's something that we're building, and that's why this past year it's been a full product lift for us, because we're not just building a front end, like a web extension. Every layer down, right down to the protocol, has been interrogated. Everything from data storage to how we service the client from a back-end perspective and storing of these assets has been really the focus. And we do have right now a really strong approach, I think, in the fact that we're making sure that every layer is tied in neatly, and there is full transparency and there's full accountability to the user's assets. And it's long story short, we want to make sure that it's easy for people. We also want to make sure there's a high level of safety.
Definitely have to balance the two. And through all of these iterations, I feel like this is going to be continually evolving as Web3 continues to grow, and there's more different opportunities and ways to protect your data as well as monetize from it. Working on the wallet throughout this year, where exactly is your team at with their releases right now?
Yeah, that's a big question. We put out a Medium article, I'll probably share in the link, I think about a week ago, to really show some updates about what we were doing, to be as transparent as possible. One of the first products that we're wrapping up right now is a staking platform for the early Cirrus backers and people of the token to get involved. It's a token hub. And the lead product, which is what we're talking about right now, the web extension wallet, we're looking at wrapping that up. Our functional build is complete. We've right now tested it. We're doing pen testing on it. We have done, like I said, probably 30 iterations on the UI, and this is one of the final ones that we're working through. And all of that was on the principle of making sure the user experience was number one. When we think about an emerging market, user experience is the is your key component in how you can drive adoption. And now that we're at this kind of final stage, we're looking at having a private beta launch of the actual product in hand before end of year, going into next, so we can have people really review it, really test it, really give us feedback, and enjoy the product. The date for a public launch is to be determined. I don't want to just say it on this call because my team will, hold me out on it. But that's really where we are right now. We're in the final stages, and we're pretty excited about it.
That's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to checking out the private launch. Hopefully I can get access to that, because I am excited, and I've been following Cirrus's updates for the last couple of years here, so looking forward to that. And in terms of moving into 2023 and just the overall industry, do you see more people waking up and realizing that they're becoming the product, and do you think there'll be some major events or any other catalysts that will drive adoption into this technology, that people realize that they can monetize off of themselves, or at least own their own data? Where do you think the industry is going with the big tech players, and how will that affect people joining into Web3?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are already waking up. I think that the fact of what we've seen across the board right now in all big tech co's, Twitter, and censorship and deplatforming of people, and centralization on printing more money, and then you work your way into this crypto world, and you think maybe that's the safe haven, and then somebody's assets are being leveraged at like a 10 to 1. I think everybody right now is starting to wake up that across the board, whether you're in crypto or you're in traditional or any market, you're being taken advantage of. And the idea is that you are being a product, whether you like it or not. And I think finally people are starting to recognize that. And they're saying, how do I start to take control of my future, my assets? How do I become a value player in all of this? And I really embrace the fact that there's some big tech companies at least talking about it. Even outside of crypto, I think the media is starting to wake up and starting to see this. I think people are saying, you know what, for far too long I'm being short-sighted and I have no control. So I think 23 is going to be a reawakening, and the brand of Web3 is going to stand to the highest degree, because Web3 really means power for people, and making sure that people have the right choices, and making sure that people have the right ownership. And so that, I think it's already happening. I think it's a turn of a tide, and we could look at these industry blowouts that we've had these past few weeks. I think it's going to create more awareness. I think it's going to be more efficiencies. I think these exchanges and these big players are going to be held more accountable, and that's a huge benefactor to the industry across the board. So that's what we need. And as much as Cirrus, we can promote this to the media, we can be a voice for change, along with other major industry players, and we just got to keep doing that. Hopefully people keep tuning in. So yeah,
great insights, Michael, and we'll see if 2023 is the year for Web3 to 10x, and I hope it is, because it's definitely time. And you mentioned there about the blog posts. I'll definitely leave that in the description below as well, the links to that. Is there any other places where people can learn more about their personal information, how to protect it, how to monetize from it, and the updates for Cirrus moving forward?
Yeah, we have a lot of educational resources that we place on some of our hubs. We've done a Web3 roundtable to really focus on how industries are playing in part of the Web3 world, and creating ownership for people, and really creating more robust solutions. We had someone that was fantastic in the industry. We'll share that link. We have the Scoop, which is our subset a media company to help support education and learning. So I'll drop that link as well. And then hit us up on Twitter, because that's our platform to making sure that we can drive as much value back to people. Well, we're going to look to engage with more Twitter spaces, and and really understand, really listen to people and be a voice for change. So it's a few different hubs. I think we can consolidate a few of them. But that's where
awesome.
we are. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Michael. I will leave those links all in the description as well. I'm really looking forward to this part of the space growing, because I feel like it's super important. I've been an advocate of protecting your personal information, especially if you're in finance. To take control of your finances and your information, both very important. So thank you for driving this initiative through Cirrus. I'm looking forward to the release of the wallet, and let's definitely follow up again in the near future.
Thank you, Ashton. It's a pleasure, and I think we need more voices like you in the industry. So it's great. This is the most relevant and most important time ever that we could do this. So appreciate your time, man.
Thank you.